well before going into halftime. And the defense, I mean, it looks, when we talk about it, the past 2 3 weeks, they've looked exactly like the 2018 Chief defense led by Bob Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that we can discuss, and of course, with the extended time, of course, there is a severe weather, obviously advisory here. We see that it is pouring down, raining. For those of you who are, of course, watching on television, I know you're watching the two-hour halftime special on NBC, but here, the field has been cleared. They've had fans seek shelter underneath, wherever they can here at the stadium. People have left, and people are leaving actually to go home because they don't want to stick around here to see what could potentially be a blowout in the second half if things keep going the way that they're going right now. When the third quarter does start back up, Buffalo will be receiving the kickoff from the Kansas City Chiefs, and at the moment, Steve, as we've seen thus far, they really haven't been able to stop Buffalo from moving the football, let alone getting into the end zone.
You're right. You know what? It seems to me that when you look at this defense, they just don't have any get up and go about themselves. They have no aggressiveness. We've been waiting on a sight of 2019 Frank Clark. We haven't seen him. Of course, no Chris Jones tonight. So it's in the words of Lamar Wallace, who's watching our show right now, and commented, he said, "Man, this team is frustrated and watching. They are very frustrated."
Yeah, look, not only is it frustrating, but it's disappointing. Again, now what we're going to do, because we have an extended halftime and we don't know when they're going to start back up,
Mhm.
we're actually going to take phone calls. If you want to call in, the phone number to call in at is 816-372-2170. At least for the next 15 minutes, we will take phone calls. So again, if you want to chime in, 816-372-2170, let us know what your thoughts are on what you've seen in the first half, what type of improvements Kansas City can do, or what they may need to do to hopefully, get things back on the other end. So, Steve, I think somebody's taking us up on our offer. We'll see exactly. You've reached the Chiefs cheat sheet with Darren Smith and Steve Walls. Who do we have on the line with us?
I'm Gary.
Gary, how you doing this evening? And what have you seen thus far that you'd like to comment on?
Both sides of the ball, really. What we're seeing is an offense that really hasn't been adjusted to take care of this style of defense. Andy's supposed to be the offensive mastermind. He's just keeping the same game plan week after week, it seems. And this team is not patient enough to do that. And until this team learns patience offensively and gets a couple of things that can get going into the middle of the field, then it's got to be more of a West Coast thing. You get the yak, and they'd rather have the home run than the yak. And defensively, has anybody got in the hospital that Dan Sorensen and Jarius Niederin so we could send them some flowers for the burn unit they're going to be in?
That's a real good question. Look, let me ask you this, and we'll probably ask everybody this. Do you have a quick solution fix for the defense?
Well, if they talk about how complicated this scheme is, keep it simple. Stay with your man. And how many times are we going to have to watch Anthony Hitchens vacate where the ball is going? Have you ever seen a guy who doesn't follow anybody into the flat, vacates the middle of the field on that big play to Zach Moss in the middle of the field? He was standing right there, saw the play action bid on it, and dropped back as far as he could. They talk about him and so on. Oh, they know how to get in the right spots. They do all this, they do all that. When you watch them, they're never in the right spot when that ball's in the air or when they're running right at them. So there is no quick fix for this defense. It's what you got. And Andy's not going to make a change after the season because loyalty comes before winning for Andy. And Andy needs to worry about his own side of the ball because there's plenty there to keep him busy. I'll hang up and listen. Great show, guys.
Appreciate it very much, Gary, for your call. Steve, I mean, he made some points. What's your thoughts on it?
And you know what? I think with this defense, it seems like just this personnel they're lacking in. I can't even say talent because a lot of these guys are on the Super Bowl run. A lot of these guys were around, and I said this when they got rid of Bashard Breeland. Even though Bashard Breeland gave up a lot of receptions, things like that, he still was aggressive. At least you knew what you were going to get when he was out on the field. And I mean, you have Jarius Sneed. He's been getting beat. You also have the main culprit right now is Dan Sorensen. he's I think he's on everybody's you know what list, and I'm not really sure of why they feel like Dan Sorensen is a lot better than Juan Thornhill when it seems like when you have Dan Sorensen out there, you just don't have that athleticism to be able to win a stretch the field.
Steve, you and I, we look, we're seeing, we sit up here in the press box, we sit next to each other. We got our
Mhm.
binoculars. We're looking at the plays and how they're taking place. We see Sorensen coming up, trying to make trying to make tackles, and one of the ones that I saw that I noticed big time was he'll come up and try to make a big hit, but he's not doing any form tackling. And what's happening is he's bouncing off the player, and the player is running 10 yards behind him. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of issues. But look, I'm gonna be we do like the players, and we do separate when we cover them between being friends and being friendly with them and doing our jobs. But we got to call players out. Tyrann Matthews is not doing a good job tonight. Frank Clark isn't doing a good job tonight. We talked about a pregame to where you got to win at the line of scrimmage, and they're just getting beat, mano a mano when they line up, and that's something that look, they talk about getting their ass whipped after the Baltimore game. They talk about being pissed or whatever. Time for talking is over with. I mean, time for talking is over with. What are you doing? What are you doing to improve it? And instead of talking about it, what are you doing to actually make some improvements? And Tyrann Matthews tonight, was talking to a colleague, while we were waiting out like we're doing now. Like you said, Tyron's in an all red uniform and probably has no bit of green patch, green dirt or anything on his jersey right now. Because when Josh Allen comes running towards him, he runs away from it.
It's the aggressiveness, and I would say this. I feel like Tyron is the only one that will show you any type of heart. You
Yeah,
know,
but
and
you know what? But before you go further though, one of the things that he's not doing well, and of course he's a quote unquote leader of the defense, is
mhm,
he cannot be showing his teammates up, and that's what he's doing a lot of finger pointing, he's doing a lot of jumping up in people's faces, jumping up and down. Obviously, after Josh Allen scored a touchdown, the first touchdown, he's getting up in people's faces, trying to push, and I don't want to say start a fight, but just but I'm like do a lot of stuff before they get in the end zone. Keep them at the end zone so you don't have to worry about trying to be aggressive and stuff like that. So he's doing too much for me to my liking and actually showing some actual leadership and showing some defensive skills. Again, if you want to jump on the hotline, give us a call at 816-372-2170. Give us your thoughts on this Chiefs Buffalo Bills Sunday Night Football where they trailing 24-13 here at Arrowhead Stadium. Steve, go
here's the deal: when it rains, it pours,
ahead.
as we
Literally,
see
yeah.
right now here at Arrowhead Stadium. I really believe that within this defense, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, like I said, you still have the same personnel minus a few. And it starts down front. It starts with a guy that a lot of people are really frustrated with, and that's Frank Clark. We haven't heard Frank Clark at all. We haven't heard his name called at all, and I think that is very frustrating for this Chiefs team as a whole, because when you have a guy who's making the most money in NFL and he's not producing, I think that's the problem. And I know Chiefs fans feel that way. I know a lot of his teammates feel that way. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's Chris Jones. Chris Jones hasn't been the same Chris Jones as he was last year, and I'm not sure why the I understand why, but I don't feel like that the production that you're getting from Chris is what you need right now, right? Because you move Chris from the inside to the outside. He was top five in on the defensive line. He was top five player in the NFL on the defense, right? And so when you move him to the outside, you don't hear from him. He's disappeared. So I feel like you need to start by moving him back inside and see where that takes you.
So I do want to say because just someone hit me up says that our lives is breaking up bad. They actually are having some some serious internet lags
Mhm.
and issues here at Arrowhead. So at the moment, it's showing our connectivity. So we do apologize for that. Of course, according to Clinton Bateman, he says that the defense sucks and the offense needs to learn to take what the defense gives them. Look, I'm just gonna say this, and again, this is being objective, and trust me, it's hard for me to be objective every now and then. But one of the things, or here's the thing: one, this just isn't a good. The Chiefs just aren't as good as they have been previous years.
Mm.
Even in 2018, they aren't good on both sides of the football, and we've got the call quarterback out with Reese. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing well tonight. He's thrown a lot of passes that have just gone to nowhere, gone into the dirt. He's overthrown. He's overthrown players. He's taking unnecessary risk running the football when players are wide open. And then when they aren't, I mean, and then when the line is holding up, all the time in the world, he still can't find anyone, and he's not running when he possibly should. So, offensively and defensively, this team is just not as good. Granted, we knew that the defense was bad, but even 2018 Kansas City Chiefs defense at least could get out to the quarterback. This defense isn't doing anything at all.
As of right now, I know a lot of people are questioning when the game is going to start or resume. Right now, the you have the a lot of the field personnel has come back onto the field. The players have not yet. I believe they're going to check the field, make sure there's no issues. But right now, the teams, it looks like they haven't given exactly an ETA when the teams will be able to
But they
to
do have
to
10 minutes up on there, so once that
looks
clock
like 10
starts to
minutes.
run,
Yeah.
then that's when we'll start the third quarter.
I believe should be before 10:30. I would say. I mean, the fans are able to come back out. They took the message down off of the jumbotron, so I think should be around 10:30.
Yeah, fans are starting. Well, I probably say 10-15, but I do believe fans are starting to return to their seats. So the rain is still coming down, or just maybe not as well. It's still heavy, so I mean, I guess it's all relative. But as long as there's no lightning in the way, we do
Right.
see a lot of Chiefs fans leaving. People do have to get up and go to work, and so by the time
If you're
this game
watching
is
us
over,
right now, turn around and come back in.
yeah. So according to Vince,
Sheesh.
he said 10-15 is the start. So we'll
Okay.
we'll look at that. We'll look at that as our way. So, but again, going back to what we've seen thus far, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's something else. He's the team's leading rusher, 52 yards rushing thus far. Josh Allen is the team's leading rusher for their team, respectively. He's got 200 plus passing yards on only 7 completions. Steve, 7 completions, 200 plus yards already.
That has to be a record, man. I don't know what the record is at halftime when we had completions and yards, but I think it has to be close. It has to be. But here's the thing about it. I mean, it's time to look yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, this can't happen." And as a competitor, I know myself as a competitor, it's like, man, you can only take so much before you start to get upset, right?
Steve,
And we don't see it.
I'm gonna throw something your way. What do you think, or how do you think halftime is going in the locker room right now? If you're a Kansas City Chiefs player, are you going at each other? Are you listening to Andy? I mean, what do you think Andy's doing? Do you think the players are fucking fighting right now? I mean, what do you think is going on right now?
I remember, I can't remember the game, but you could tell the assertiveness when they came out of halftime, and I feel like that was going to be this game before the rain delay. That was going to be. It's like, all right,
You're probably
you
thinking about the Cleveland game.
yeah, that was exactly it. The assert. I mean, you knew that there was something said in the locker room. You knew, and right now it's like, all right, I think those juices have to get flowing again. I'm sure the team's going to have to come back out and warm up, as it looks like the teams are getting ready to come back out now. But you have to have some type of assertiveness, and right now I think the game's up in the air because it- the, the Bills had all the momentum
I
and
think they
and
still
now
got the momentum.
well, I think they probably cooled down by now, but they had the momentum going into halftime, and of course, the Bills get the ball back after halftime. So, I mean, time will tell.
I will say this: the difference maker is the Bills are facing the Chiefs defense. I mean, so that's something that works in their favor regardless. Because again, at the end of the day, when they come back out, they know what to expect for the Chiefs defense, and that's going to be not much.
Yeah, I agree. I
So,
definitely agree.
look, we're going to take, we're going to call it quits. We're going to get ready to start the third quarter. Of course, I got to make some phone calls as it is. And look, Chiefs, maybe they come back and for the eighth and pull it off, but
Look, it could be,
Stranger things
as I
happen.
said, it could be worse.
It,
As bad as they played,
you did
it
say
could,
that, and that is
as
true.
bad as they played, they're only down 11.
Because truth be told, when Brian Pringle fumbled that kickoff, the defense
Stepped up. They did.
stepped up, and
They
then
did.
so things can happen. So we'll see how we'll see what happens at the end of the day. So again, I can't speak for Steve. It depends on how long this delay be. He might not see you, boy, post game because
Come
this
on,
delay
man.
to the midnight hour. But yeah, it looks like this game is not going to be over to about 11:30,
It's all
which
right.
means we're going to be press
It's all right.
conference well after midnight.
It's all right.
We'll see how it all goes. But look, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Gary, for calling in from Illinois, and follow Steve at Steve Walls KC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Darren_Smith WHB. So till next time, ladies and gentlemen, that is our extended halftime show.